Good morning, everyone. Hopefully everyone is back. I'm just checking.
Good morning, Chair, again.
And I can see Honorable MEC is here, and I'm presuming that he is here with his team, so that's fine. Colleagues, I think we're ready to start. The agenda is there in front of us. Let me just start by welcoming everyone and hoping that you are managing fine, given that we have some inclement weather and there has been some damage. But you are all welcome. Let me go to item 2 on the agenda, which has been flighted, attendance and apologies. Cabo, any apologies that we have received?
Morning, Honorable Chair. No apologies that we've received now.
Thank you very much. In terms of the Constitution, Cabo, I think we are duly constituted.
Yes, we are.
Okay, so in that case, can I have someone to move for adoption of the agenda? Show of hands, please. Honorable Mchali.
Hi, Chair, it's Kau. It's Kau that can move.
Thank you, Honorable Kaula. And I'll take it,
Honorable Chair.
Thank you, Honorable Mchali. Okay, we'll go to item 4. At this point, let me welcome Honorable MEC Nkosi to this meeting. You are here on behalf of both your departments, Human Settlements and Public Works. But Honorable MEC, we will be commencing with the Department of Public Works. So as you would be familiar with this procedure, we would take an oath or affirmation by the accounting officer and whoever is going to speak in the meeting. What I want to do, Honorable MEC, is get your officials to take the oath or affirmation, and then I'll hand it over to you for some brief remarks, and then we'll take a presentation of the report by your department. So without further ado, HOD of Public Works, can you take the oath or affirmation and point us to whichever members of your team will be speaking as well, so they can do the same?
Good morning, Chairperson. My name is Zanele Dlamini. I'm the Chief Financial Officer from the Department of Public Works. I was trying to raise my hand to tender an apology from our HOD, our acting HOD, Mr. Majola, who is currently on study leave. I've been requested to lead the department in terms of the responses and the presentations that are going to be made, but I've got the rest of the executive members of the department who will also be engaging where required in terms of providing responses. Thanks, Chair.
Thank you very much, Ms. Dlamini. Can you just briefly just open your video so we can see you, and then you can shut that video? You can do it while you are taking the oath or affirmation, and the way in which... welcome. You can close it. We now know that you exist.
Thank you.
Yes. The oath or affirmation is basically I and your name do hereby swear to speak the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help me God. If you are swearing the oath, if you are affirming, you'll say I with your name, do hereby affirm to speak the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth. I do so affirm. So if you can start, Ms. Dlamini, and then, direct whichever other members of the team to take the oath or affirmation, we can go through this quite briskly.
Thank you, Chairperson. I, Zanele Dlamini, swear to speak the truth, nothing else but the truth. So help me God. I can just ask Mr. Duma, Ms. Forte, Mr. Dlamini, no, Dr. Vishkavenda, to affirm. Thank you.
Okay, fine. Let's do it in that order. And if, as they are taking the oath or affirmation, they just briefly open their videos so we see their faces, and then they can close. Okay, I think who is next?
I, Dr. Vishendran Govender, hereby affirm the oath and I swear to tell the truth and the whole truth. Thank you. So help me God.
Thank you. The next person.
Good morning, Chair and members. I, Zinhle Fute, swear to tell the truth and nothing but the truth, so help me God. Thank you.
Okay, Ms. Fute, can we just briefly see your face? Thank you. The next person.
Good morning, Chair. My name is Pfma Duma, DDG Corporate Services. I hereby swear to tell the truth and only the truth, so help me God.
Thank you, Mr. Duma. Anyone else?
Good morning, Chair, and members and colleagues. My name is Ubongan Dlamini, Chief Director responsible for EPWP. I swear to tell the truth, nothing but the truth, so help me God. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Dlamini. Is there anyone else, or are we now covered? Seems like we are. Thank you very much to the officials. Honorable MEC, let me hand over to you. Thank you very much for attending and indicating that you and your department are accountable. I'd like a few remarks from you.
Thank you very much, Honorable Chair, and the honorable members for allowing us to have these short opening remarks for the Department of Public Works in this SCOPA hearing. We declare that we are very much excited to achieve the positive audit outcome after experiencing a number of challenges in the 2022-2023 financial year. Together with the management of our department, we commit that we are going to improve in the 2023-2024 audit. We want to indicate that all the systems appear to be in place so that in the near future we achieve the clean audit, which has eluded us for so many years. We have seen a huge decline in irregular expenditure, despite the fact that we had a serious budget shortfall in that financial year under review. We also hope that we are going to fill all the vacancies, especially the critical ones, including the post of the HOD in this current financial year. So having said all that, Honorable Chairperson, we are going to allow the management to account for their actions, and then we're handing over to you. Thank you very much, Honorable Chair and Honorable Members.
Thank you very much, Honorable MEC. You are an old hand at this, so you know what is expected. Thank you for attending. Before I hand over to the department, let me just briefly say, in terms of the audit outcomes, the department received an unqualified financial audit with findings, and that has been the position for the past 3 years. There has been something of a stagnation in this regard. In terms of Program 3, there has been, in terms of compliance with the legislation, the annual financial statements were free of misstatements, and that is a positive indicator. However, Honorable MEC, we must point out that there were findings in relation to procurement and contract management, expenditure management, consequence management, strategic planning, and performance management. The department also, in terms of its financial health, there are budget constraints, and in respect of rates, a large amount of the payables, amount of around 170 million, were not paid on time. Similarly, there's a large overdraft balance that the department has at year end. We also look at a conflict of interest in terms of personnel, where remunerative work without permission was not approved, and one of the major concerns in terms of contract management is around leases, where leases have not been renewed timeously and payments have been made on expired leases. We note the improvement, and it's a sizable improvement in irregular expenditure. Again, the irregular expenditure incurred is leases related. So that's something, Honorable MEC, I think you and your team would have to look at. And just briefly going through. Yes, and then we also would look at misstatements in your performance information that the AG has raised with us. And in terms of material irregularities, there is one, and this is around the procurement of licenses for a system that's still under management, the Akiba system. We would like some explanation because costs have been incurred whilst the licenses themselves have been underutilized. So, Honorable MEC in your team, let me hand over to the HOD to take us through the presentation for the department. Actually, to the CFO, because the HOD has tendered an apology.
Thank you, Chairperson. Greetings to you and the Honorable MC and the Honorable members and the colleagues. I'll take you through the presentation as it's been requested in terms of the format, that it will cover the audit outcomes and our improvement plan, as well as there are some issues relating to, or the report that relates to irregular expenditure incurred and the payment of invoices to SIU. Just, Chairperson, on the issues that you have mentioned, I would just like to highlight that the pressure relating to property rate at the current on the current financial year, we are experiencing a shortage of about 500 million. We have tried to request additional funding through Provincial Treasury. However, nothing has been, there's been no positive responses at the moment. So what we can anticipate to see will be then a higher number of invoices that are not settled at the end of the financial year again, because as much as we may receive the invoices from the municipalities, but we have exhausted our current budget allocation in this regard, and we are foreseeing that they will be short by 500 million. So if we're not getting the assistance, we will have that at the end of the financial year. Also, there may be some disruptions in terms of services, because some municipalities have threatened to cut services if the invoices are not settled on time. So we are still facing the same challenges, which we are trying to address. As I said, we have engaged a Provincial Treasury in this regard. Also, you mentioned the payment, or you mentioned the overdraft that we are seeing. We are likely to see a higher amount again this year, obviously with the approval from Provincial Treasury, because they are the ones who approve the overdraft. The challenge we are facing currently is that most departments are not paying us on time. The major contributors or the major people who have not paid the department, which will result in the higher level of the overdraft, is the Department of Education, as well as the Department of Health. The other departments, we are engaging with them so that they can pay us. However, if those two departments are not able to settle their accounts on time, we are likely also see again a high number of invoices that are not settled at the end of the financial year. And we are likely also to see some disruption in terms of projects on the ground, as service providers will not be paid if we're not paid on time. So that will hinder the performance of the department should those matters not be addressed timelessly, so that the department can continue to pay the service providers to ensure that the projects are progressing well on the ground. Another issue which we are likely to see come up in future audits or in the current, in the next audit, will be the issue of condition assessments. These were raised by AG again in the last audit. However, we can only do condition assessments based on the budget that we have. We have highlighted this to AG as well, to say that we know the requirements. However, we are limited by the budget that is available to us. In terms of the material irregularity that has been identified by Provincial Treasury, Chair, the matter was referred to OTP. We did have an engagement with them where we did give or provide information that they had requested. And then we also indicated the timelines that have been set out by AG in terms of this irregularity. They did indicate that they will give us a report. However, it must be signed off by DG before it's provided to the department. So we will follow up on that so that we can get the formal response in terms of the progress of that investigation, and then it can be forwarded to AG. One of the matters, Chair, that were also raised in terms of this report was which the department had to report on invoices from SIU. Currently, the department does not have any invoices from SIU. So in that respect, there is no feedback that we'll be providing because there's no invoices in our possession. And even in the template that was sent out, there was no amount indicated as due from the Department of Public Works. With that, I'll get straight to the reports. The slide just reflects the unqualified audit opinion. Chair, you've indicated the matters that were emphasized was the impairment of receivables, which will largely relate to the interdepartmental claims, where there's a longer period in terms of client departments reimbursing the Department of Public Works. There's also been issues of procurement and contract management. These are relating to the management of leases, which we have devised a plan to deal with them, which I will engage on later on during the presentation. Expenditure management, it's relating to the payment of property rates and outstanding invoices at the end of the financial year, as well as condition assessments, the adjustment of a material misstatement in terms of the performance information, which we have put measures in place to deal with that. Consequent management, which was emanating from the large number of cases which were not investigated relating to irregular expenditure. That I will also elaborate on further in the presentation. And then the matter of the material irregularity, as I have indicated in the update. We move on to the next slide. The next slide is just giving us a summary in terms of the communication of findings that were received from the HE during the audit, which was 52. At the end, there were 35 communications which were left, which the department had to devise or come up with a plan to deal with them so that, number one, we ensure that the controls are improved. Number two, we ensure that the commitments that we made to the Auditor General, they are attended to and achieved on time. And we put measures in place to ensure that these do not reoccur going forward. Of those 35, 17 of them are in progress. However, the 18 have been resolved, as you will see in the presentation that I will table. Those that have been resolved, it means that the department has implemented measures, and we've got a portfolio of evidence to support whatever we committed to do in terms of our responses to AG and in line with our audit improvement plan. So if I can just indicate that in terms of the implementation of the plan, there are set timeframes and responsible officials. In line with those timeframes, obviously, they then will compile a portfolio of evidence, so ensure that the plan is updated accordingly throughout the year, and then it's reviewed and it has been submitted to Provincial Treasury and oversight structures where required. If we move on to the next one, to the next slide, this, Chair, is just a summary of the invoice of the findings, as I have indicated. 17 of these have they are still in process of being implemented, but as I said, the 18 have been resolved. One is relating to false declarations by suppliers. 3 are relating to contract management, which are relating to leases under IAM. 2 relate to the irregular expenditure investigations, functions of bid committees, which was the matters that were reported under compliance. There's 5 findings that I think 4 of them were relating to ICT matters, and the others were relating to the APP indicators, which will be our strategic documents. And then 6 were relating to IMTS. They covered issues around the contract management, cancellation of contracts, unsafe buildings, office occupation, and such. I will elaborate on. And the one finding that we have, which was relating to EPWP, was resolved. Now we're going to the breakdown in terms of those numbers that I have presented. The report indicates those that have been resolved and those where we are still working on, as well as the due date in terms of the timeframes and the responsible official. The first one, it was relating to irregular expenditure not prevented. This was relating to the management of leases. However, the department has developed a lease management form which must accompany or must be included in the project file. It guides the people who are capturing the payments, who are managing the projects, to ensure they are on the lookout, to ensure that there are signed contracts in place and there is an approval in place. So this will assist the department in preventing and detecting any possible areas of poor management which may result in irregular expenditure. So this has been circulated and implemented throughout the department to ensure that those areas are covered during the year of the audit, so that matter is resolved. Number 2, we are looking at instances of prior irregular expenditure not indicated. Chairperson, on this one, we did have an issue because we experienced a large number of cases relating to the management of leases. The department was not able to conduct all those investigations so that we can move on with taking the necessary actions in that aspect. However, Provincial Treasury was engaged for assistance, and consultants have been appointed to conduct those investigations. Hence, we indicated that that project is in progress. With the other cases, we did receive some response from Provincial Treasury where some irregular expenditure was condoned. So those have been removed from the register of irregular expenditure, and the department is still conducting some investigation, and they will be taken forward in line with the recommendations of the investigation. The next one that's been resolved, it's relating to pre-approval not obtained for expired lease. As I indicated, that form has been indicated, that the lease management form has been implemented to guide the management of the leases and to ensure that the renewals are done on time and the payments are paid based on an approved procurement process. The next slide is taking us through all of these issues that are in the slide have been resolved. They are talking about the preparation of the APP, be it the technical indicator descriptions and portfolio of evidence. Those have been addressed and they've been included in the 2023-24 APP. We have the relevant POE to talk to that. If we can move on to the next slide. In this slide, item number 9 still refers to the issues relating to the APP. There were deficiencies in the performance management system. So we do have now implemented a process where there'll be monthly reviews of POE submitted to ensure the accuracy and validity of the information that is reported in terms of our achievements. This also talks to item number 10, and 11, which talk to the duplication in the reported actual achievement, as well as the reported actual achieved projects are not aligned to the predetermined list in the annual report. These have been they'll be covered in terms of the plan that we have put in place in terms of our quarterly reporting, monthly reporting, as well as addressing it in the 2023-24 APP. Item number 12 is talking about the relevant performance indicator not included in the APP. This one we have addressed it, and it will be included in the 24-25 APP because obviously the 23-24 APP has already been finalized, so we can only address this one in the 24-25 APP. These have been also discussed with AG during the audit, so we are comfortable in terms of the action plan that the department has taken. Also, item number 13 has been resolved. It's talking to a space audit plan on buildings that might not exist. So we do have a plan where a circular was distributed to the regions to ensure that identified space audits are adequately reconciled to the floor. If we move on to the next slide, also these have been resolved. We've got the portfolio of evidence. Item number 14 talks to the payments not settled within 30 days of receipt of invoice. As I indicated, Chair, that these largely relate to the payment of property rates. However, we have ensured that the payments or the invoices that have been received will be captured in the invoice register and reviewed on a monthly basis so that we can try to keep track of these and then prioritize them should we get additional funding to process these payments, because as I indicated that the invoices that we are receiving now we cannot capture on the system because the budget has been exhausted, but we will have the register which we are updating and reviewing. So should there be any additional allocation provided, we will try to prioritize. Item number 15 is talking to conditional assessment. A project manager has been appointed to work in terms of between the two programs to ensure that the condition assessments are undertaken timelessly. Item number 16 is talking to the integration of the assessment of fraud risk into the operational risk assessment, which is being monitored in terms of our operational plan. Item number 17 is talking to the late approval of annual leave taken, as well as number 18, where the leave form was signed or approved after the official had gone on leave. This was addressed as some of there was a verbal permission granted before the officer went on leave. As a circular that was circulated reminding officials that the forms must also be signed timelessly to ensure proper record keeping. Item number 19 was talking to vacancy rates. Since then, the recruitment process for the vacant post have commenced and they've been published in the provincial online recruitment system. Item number 20, I was talking to evidence that deviations of procurement was reported to the relevant Treasury and Auditor General. We did experience some challenges in this regard, Chairperson, but we have put a measure in place. We have centralized the reporting of the deviations so that reports can be compiled timelessly and submitted. Since that measure has been put in place, we are right now, we have a method in terms of how we track those deviations and ensure that they are being submitted or reported to the necessary structures as required. So we are doing that now. Item number 21 was talking to lease agreements not signed by both parties. And as I indicated, Chairperson, that the form that was implemented, it does specifically indicate that there must be that lease agreement signed on file before the payment is processed. The department also intends to conduct workshops with all the regions in terms of highlighting the issues that were identified during the audit and the control measures that are being undertaken, as well as what assess and maybe some files to see that to the measures or to the circular that issued. So we are doing that as a department. If we move on to the next slide. This one, number 22, is talking about no declaration of interest submitted by suppliers in service of the state. The investigation has been finalized in terms of this matter, which was identified by AG, and we do have circulars that were sent to officials indicating what they must be disclosed in terms of declaration of interest. So the matter was resolved. Item number 23 was talking to evidence that the bid was advertised in the government tender bulletin. Currently now, we are making sure that the adverts is included in the project file to ensure compliance. And obviously, this has also been highlighted to the officials working within it to ensure that evidence is on file in this regard. Item number 24, there was an award made to a supplier who did not submit all the documents required. So there's a checklist that we're reviewing and we're implementing to ensure administrative compliance and strengthening our filing system to ensure that documents are filed in an orderly manner so that when information is required, be it AG or any other structure, the files can be extracted and provided timelessly because we know what is contained in each file. So the checklist will outline what documents must be in what file so that should the information be requested, we know which file to look at to get the required information. If we move on to the next slide, item number 25, this was talking to where points were not awarded within the functionality criteria. AG did indicate that this would have not changed the outcome. However, it was a weakness in the system. SCM is commenced with engaging with the bid committees to ensure that these issues are brought to their attention so that they are mindful or aware of them going forward. In a refresher engagement is planned to be undertaken by the 31st of October, just to highlight the issues that we are seeing or the mistakes that we see maybe occurring, just so that we can sensitize the officials to look into those matters with, like to give them special attention and to make sure that these do not reoccur. Item number 26 was talking to documents not submitted for audit. The regions will develop a checklist, as I indicated, that will be included in the project file to ensure that documents are filed correctly. Item number 27 was talking to an award published in the e-tender publication. An official has been assigned to monitor compliance to the director SCM with regards to this, just to make sure that this is happening through. If we move on to the next slide, item number 28, this was talking to poor contract management. A circular was issued to project manager, or a circular is going to be issued to project managers on the completion of site inspection. That inspection forms and minutes of meetings must be signed off and kept in the file. This is just to ensure, Chairperson, that the information that we need or that is required contract management is properly filed and kept in terms of the filing system of the department. So this is going to be something that we are focusing on to engage project leaders so that they are aware of as they manage the project to have those documents on file as they assist in terms of taking action to each project. Item number 29 was talking to false declaration by the suppliers in which persons in service of the state institutions have an interest. The department was going to notify the heads of department, the affected departments and the staff members who were trade officials are going to engage those heads of departments. Currently, the measure that we have is that the CSD document to identify if the directors of the company are in service of the state or not. These which were identified, the CSD report did not indicate such. However, we are going to be engaging as well as those affected department with regards to the identified cases. Item number 30 is talking to procurement by other means. Reasons for deviation not justified. Management, because these were relating mainly to deviations relating to leases. So there will be that joint intervention where we'll be engaging the officials in terms of what the submission must cover, so that the deviation obviously is approved with the necessary documentation contained in the submission, to ensure that it's a justifiable reasons where the deviations are approved. We're expecting to conduct those engagements by the 31st of October, as we'll be going to the different regions to ensure that this is highlighted. The next finding, item number 31, is talking to EPWP, as I indicated that these were resolved even before the final the final audit report was issued. There was also another one, item number 32, which was capital commitments on projects implemented by the department. The AG funding for DOH capital commitments was cleared by AG, which was auditing the Department of Health. If we can move on to the next one. Item number 33 was talking to the overstatement of commitment balances and possible fruitless and wasteful expenditure. The conclusion is on this one has not been provided by AG. Number 34, misstatement in retention balances and consequently affecting commitment balances. We're also waiting for an outcome on this one. Item number 35, this was talking to Ilembe District Office. The department is in the process of compiling a document that seeks to give guidance to the project manager on the chronology of enforcement to the cancellation or termination of contracts. This document will obviously highlight what the processes that the project leader needs to look at and to undertake through the various stages of the implementation of the project, so that action can be taken timelessly, and the relevant documentation is also there to support the action that is being taken by the department. Also, the department will ensure that the stakeholders are consulted and engaged as per the current EPWP standard operating procedures. We are intending to ensure that that plan, that process is finalized by the 31st of March 2024. Item number 36 was a finding relating to McCord's Hospital. Practical completion was achieved on the 15th of June, and the department has handed over the site back to the client. So therefore, this matter has been resolved. If we move on to the next slide, which will cover item number 37. Item number 37 was relating to Osizweni Handicraft Arts Center. The department is currently awaiting the AG conclusion on this one. There was a meeting held and additional information provided to AG on the 8th of September. So on this one, we are waiting for the outcome of that from the AG side. Item number 38 was talking to the limitation of scope. On this one, Chairperson, we encountered the challenges where the files that were requested by AG, they were with the Office of the Premier, due to another investigation being conducted. So there was a sort of a problem in terms of trying to get those files from OTP to AG. Which then resulted in the delay, or the AG not necessarily getting all the documents that will be that they wanted in terms of the audit. So I think on this one we just need to have an agreement in terms of how we deal with such cases where files that are requested for audits are with other state institutions for other purposes like investigations. So this was the issue with regards to this one. But the HE was alerted to the fact that the information was with OTP. Item number 31 was talking to King Edward Hospital. We are waiting HE's conclusion in terms of the management comments that were provided. We have not received any communication in this regard. Item number 40 was talking to the Vryheid District Office, where there were various issues that were raised by HE. However, Chair, on this one, we were a bit limited because if you look at the issues that we're talking to, the issue of a generator, the procurement has been finalized, but the issue that is talking to the procurement of furniture, given the financial constraints that we are facing as a department, the capital budget of the department was severely cut. So it's been very difficult to try and accommodate the capital or the procurement relating to capital items. Even under current items, it's been very difficult. So we are trying to manage the process by ensuring that where there are savings identified, we are able then to cater for other issues. With capital expenditure, Chair, we had a severe cut which even affected current projects that are on the ground that are limiting us. So we are experiencing that challenge there. However, as I indicated, we are trying to look where maybe we can have savings. We'll try to prioritize the issues that have been identified by HE, but other issues have been resolved. I'm just highlighting the issue of budget because I know this one, it's really dependent on us identifying savings, and given the challenges that we are facing, it's going to be a tough one. But we are doing our best so that we can ensure that this one does not come again next year in terms of procuring the furniture. If we move on to the next slide, and item number 41 was talking to facility management, the DOE to provide a plan for the utilization of the property. This has been implemented. The meeting with DOE took place on the 7th of September 2023. Item number 42 is talking to occupied and safe buildings. The request for funding to institute conditional assessment for the entire building has been submitted. As I indicated, Chairperson, that we are limited by the funding that we have. The procurement for fire extinguishers is underway. The requisition has been signed. The region to develop a checklist and registers to closely monitor the expiry dates of fire extinguishers. So we are anticipating to complete those by the 31st of December 2023. Item number 43 was resolved. It was relating to maintenance of works information system due to support agreement not being in place. A request has been sent to SETA to procure this service for the department. If we move on to the next slide, item number 44 is talking to duplicate leases, which could not be captured to premise due to insufficient automated data validation and integrity checks because of the limitation of the system. The department is engaging with CSIR to accommodate the capturing of the lease information with the unique ID and contract number. It is anticipated that this will be finalized by the end of January 2024. Item number 45 was talking to the travel IT system, or the monitoring of the use in the super user or the administrator of the system. There's been a new super user who's been appointed in this regard to manage this process, and we are currently monitoring the activities on the system given the current reports that we have with the system. At this stage, we are engaging Provincial Treasury in this regard to ensure that the necessary checks are being undertaken. But with the new super user appointed, we are fairly confident that we will be able to conduct these activities. Item number 46, employees that have not logged in for more than 30 days still have active accounts. That was the finding. The action plan, the dormant users are monitored on a monthly basis, although after 30 days of inactivity, the PESAL system automatically revokes a user. This has been implemented. Item number 47 has also been resolved as the issue relating to premise facility ID duplicate. If we move on to the next one, item number 48 was talking to system functionality and advantages of an integrated property management platform node experience, as the Akiba system is not yet functional or in the live environment. This one and the three following these are relating to ICT, which are part of the Akiba system. This is all under the material irregularity that is being investigated. So those that are in progress as we wait the outcome of that investigation, and then action can be taken in line with the recommendations of the investigation. And then item number 52 is the issue that was raised relating to Osizweni Handicraft. As I indicated, that the information was submitted to AG so that they can provide an outcome or a conclusion with regards to the matters that were highlighted or the findings that were indicated. And then I'll move on to the condonation of irregular expenditure and consequence management. The first slide just gives an overall outlook in terms of what's been reported in our register and the progress that we have seen in the current financial year. It's broken down per year, and we have indicated irregular expenditure recognized. If you look at the columns going across, it will be irregular expenditure recognized and its irregular expenditure condoned at the end of June 2023, where we received confirmation of condonation from Treasury. The next one will be condone, which was approved by Treasury on the 29th of September, as well as an adjustment in terms of classification, as well as the closing balance. So we've got a breakdown starting from 2013-14 until 2022-23. So it just gives us, if I can just quickly go through it, the irregular expenditure recognized amounted to 747 million rands. In June, we received condonation of 86.3 million rands from Provincial Treasury. Also, at the end of September, we received a further condonation of 14.7 million. We then reclassified 463,000 rand. This was where we identified that this payment does not fit the classification of irregular expenditure and needs to be derecognized under irregular expenditure. It's 465, and that's the closing balance. So relating to 2013-2014, the 11.9 million, there's no closing balance there because we received condonation and we reclassified the error or the amount that was included in error. And then for 2014-2015, it was 1.6 million. It's been condoned, so there's no balance from that year. 2016-2017, it was 1.6, and then 1.6 was condoned as well. 2019-2020, there's 11.4, which I will indicate where it is. 2021, there was 378. 22.4 of the 378 million was condoned. It was relating to the vetting of officials. We received the response from Provincial Treasury in June. So there's 356 million relating to that particular year, of which those were mainly leases. 21-22, 287.5 million. 63.9 million rand was approved for condonation from Provincial Treasury. Those were relating to the vetting of officials as well. So there is a balance of 223.5 million rands outstanding for that year, which is being investigated by the appointed consultants. For 22-23, there's 54.2 million. There's no condonation for those. we are waiting for the investigation to be finalized with regards to the payment with those leases. So at the end of 22-23, the register is showing 645.5 million rands, of which they are receiving the attention, be it the department is conducting the investigation or the team of consultants appointed by Treasury is providing the investigation, and then action will be taken upon the finalization of those investigations and the recommendations. The next pages of the presentation just then give a clarity on a case-by-case basis to indicate where each one is. As I indicated, the first one, which was from 2013-2014, has been condoned by Provincial Treasury. The implicated officials were subjected to training as per the investigation. For 2014-2015, these were also, as I indicated, they were condoned. Corrective counseling and training was provided in line with the recommendation. For 2016-2017, the condonation was approved by Provincial Treasury at the end of September, and the officials were provided with a training, and the value for money was received. 2019-2020 cases, we've got amounting to 97.5 thousand. It was an allegation of fraud and corruption against a project leader of the School of Industries project. The investigation was finalized and consequence management implemented against 4 officials. A criminal case was opened at the Newcastle SAPS. And then the project leader was dismissed in August 2018, and Labour Court upheld the dismissal on the 11th of May 2023. I must indicate, Chairman, that those ones where it's been condoned or a matter has been finalized, they will be removed from future reports as those cases have now been finalized. The next one, which was relating to 2019-20, is 10.2 million rand, which was talking about the extension of contract without approval, which exceeded the prescribed 15%. The contract was reviewed by the department as a sole supplier. The previous contract has ended and the department has not entered into a new contract. However, this case is still under investigation by the department. The next one, which is still under investigation as well, is relating to local content requirements on the procurement of office furniture, which was not applied. We're still going through the determination test completed, and then it will be submitted to Provincial Treasury once the investigation has been processed. There are set criteria in terms of what must be covered by the department when we are sending the request for condonation. So once those have been completed and the investigation finalized, it will be sent to Provincial Treasury for condonation. The next one, which was amounting to 166,000, a limitation of scope, declaration of interest was not provided, is still under investigation. There's also another one which was identified under North Coast regions. North Coast region, which was also declaration of local content amounting to 189.6 thousand, is still under investigation. For 2020-21 financial year, the irregular expenditure relating to lease contract extension not approved by Treasury. These were for leases, as I indicated. The amount is 355.8. The consultants have been appointed, as I indicated, and this is still under investigation. The 22.4 million for that year, it was relating to the vetting not being done prior to appointment. This was condoned by Provincial Treasury. Value for money was received. The next one, which is still under investigation for 435,000 rand, relates to the bidder's pass-up not signed by the bidder. This is still under investigation. Cases relating to 21-22, there's 146.3 million, which relates to leases which are still under investigation. There's 63.9 million, which was relating to the vetting of officials' prior appointment. This was condoned as indicated. There's also 26 million where a winning bidder does not meet the minimum requirements of contract above CIDP grade. This case is at appeal stage with Provincial Treasury, so an assessment is being conducted. Pending the outcome of the case with Provincial Treasury, the investigation then will be finalized and action taken by the department. The next case will be a pre-approval not obtained for deviation regarding extension of leases for isolation and quarantine facilities, amounted to 51.1 million. This has been submitted, part of the cases that are submitted to the appointed consultants to ensure that the investigation is finalized. And then for 22-23, the irregular expenditure relating to leases that was disclosed was 47 million rand. It's part of the project that is being undertaken by the consultants appointed by Provincial Treasury. And the last case for 22-23 was the 7.1 million, where the winning bidder does not meet. It's still the same case from the 2021-22. As indicated, the case it's an appeal stage with Provincial Treasury. Pending then the outcome, then the department will take the action in line with the findings or the outcome of the investigation. And then this brings me to the end of my presentation, Chair. Thank you.
Thank you very much, CFO. Colleagues, there's been a very comprehensive report that has been presented. I now open the floor to you for your questions. Can I, or clarification? Can we have a show of hands, please? Colleagues, show of hands. Not seeing anything. I'm just trying to find whose hand this is.
Honorable Kaula, ma'am.
Okay, Honorable Kaula. Anybody else? Kabo, please assist me. I may not be seeing all the hands. Okay, let's start with you, Honorable Kaula.
Thank you very much, Honorable Chairperson. Greetings to the colleagues, Honorable MEC, HOD and the department. Thanks, Chair, for the presentation by the accounting officer. Although I'm a little bit disadvantaged in that I just received the presentation just now when I requested it from Cabo, so I did not have the leisure of going through it nicely and go through the issues as would have been expected. But just two issues, Chair. The first one will be on slide 11 in respect of the state employees who do business with government. This is becoming a problem. It has been a problem. I do realize that the department is saying that this matter has been resolved. I don't think so. It has not been resolved because this is fraud, actually. It doesn't end up with the department just conducting an investigation and then finalizing internal processes. If the accounting officer has not reported these people to the SAPS and charges are laid on them, then the matter is not resolved if that can be sorted out. And the next one, Chair, is slide 17 in respect of the buildings occupied which are unsafe. I I just want to find out, Chairperson, because Honorable MEC and Accounting Officer, this is a big problem in government. You see, the problem with this issue is that government tends to only focus on the big cities. We have got lots and lots of properties that belong to government, which are all over, in all districts, all cities, all small towns and big towns. Houses that belong to government, which are currently not being occupied by government. I don't know if they don't have an asset register of these facilities, because people just come in, some of them, they hijack these buildings, they rent them out as if they own them. It's a mess. I just want to find out, Chairperson from the department, what are you planning to do with this? What is the strategy really in terms of collating information, ensuring that you monitor and you also get in charge of these buildings? And because if they need to be disposed of, this has got to happen properly. You know, people just take over. They get into these houses, they occupy them, and in some instances, you'll find out that it's not even people who are needy. You know, people who have got their own properties, people who are well-to-do, they get into these, they live in them, stay for a short while, rent them out as if they own them. It's just a mess. I just want to find out what strategy does the department have in terms of not just those big buildings in Durban and Pietermaritzburg and elsewhere in the big cities, all over the province, which is a big problem. Chair, thank you very much.
Thanks, Honorable Kaula. You are raising some very valid points, because these are all government assets, regardless of where they are. And, you know, we've tried to hammer this thing that, you know, a percentage of the department's budget, I think it's 13%, has to be allocated towards maintenance. And I'm not sure how this is being done. So thank you for raising that matter. Are there any other issues that colleagues wish to raise?
It's Honorable Kulu.
Yes,
sorry.
Honorable Kulu, proceed.
I was trying to raise my hand here. I'm battling with it.
Yes, Honorable Kulu.
Honorable Chair, I think maybe now we don't be much. My concern here is the issue of non-payment to the department by Department of Health and Education. I think this committee also needs to assist this department because remember now they are facing two issues. One is the one that now they don't get those payments from these two departments, plus these serious budget cuts. Definitely it's going to be impossible for this department to function. So I don't know what this committee can also assist or put more pressure onto this department to pay this department to be able to do its job, because I saw some of them that they might fail to do is to pay the service providers. So definitely they will see a huge collapse. There's a lot that is being done. There are schools that are being done from work, including legislature itself. So for me, I think Treasurer and ourselves on this committee need to try and see what is that we can do to push for these payments to be done to this department to be able to do its work. I wanted just to add on to that one, Chairperson.
These comments are most welcome. I hope the department is making note. We'll expect a response. Is there anybody else? Kabo, please assist if I'm missing anyone.
No other hand, ma'am.
Okay, then before I hand over to the department, I want to raise two issues. The first one is, and I'm drawing on the report from the Auditor General, who looked at service delivery indicators not achieved, right? And here I want to specifically speak about Program 3, right, where 35% of the targets were achieved, but 100% of the budget was spent. Now, Honorable MEC, you'll understand this because in terms of governance, money has been spent, so that's well and good. But in terms of service delivery, there's clearly an underperformance because there were just 6 targets that had been achieved in Program 3 under in terms of, and yet the budget was fully spent. But my concern is around two things. One, the EPWP work opportunities, which the plan target was 5,026. However, according to the report of the department, 1,688 EPWP work opportunities had been created. But my even bigger concern is that they had nobly a whole lot of targets set to award projects to military veterans-owned companies, designated groups, women-owned companies, youth-owned companies, disabled people-owned companies, etc. And in all of these instances, they've achieved zero. Zero of these targets have been achieved. Now, this for me is a real problem, because these are what should be done by the department, but clearly is not being done. We'd like an explanation about that. And then so those are the two issues I want to raise around service delivery. Then I want to go back to this issue of this Archibus, those licenses. Now, every time the matter has come up in terms of this this plan that has been presented by the department, and this material irregularity was identified by the Auditor General, right? My concern is as follows. Each time that the specific area around this Archibus license system has come through, or this Archibus system has come through, the response has been awaiting the outcome of the investigation, right? So from items 48 to 51, each time it says pending, awaiting the outcomes of the investigation. However, the Office of the Auditor General has indicated, right, has indicated or made recommendations about what action could be taken and recommendations on the steps to be taken to address this and the time period within which this should be done. I'd like to know whether, in fact, the department is adhering to this, but also you only had 5 licenses that, I think it was 5 licenses that were valid, and the balance of these things had not kicked in, but payment had been done. You don't need an investigation to tell you if you don't have the licenses or they're not being used, why are you paying for them? So I'd like to get a response to that as well. Thank you. I think if there are no other hands, let me hand over to the department.
Thanks, Chairperson. I would request then my colleagues to come in with regards to the issues raised under Program 3, service delivery not being achieved, as well as EPWP not achieved in the targeted procurement. Mr. Duma will come in terms of the issues you raised around Archibus. Then just on the issue that was relating to item number 22, I must indicate, Chairperson, that there are no officials from the department who were found to be doing business with the state. It was officials from other departments, hence the communication will be to those departments to actually take action against those relevant officials. There were items where the AG found some situations, so that required the department to conduct an investigation and determine that these officials are no longer or were not awarded when they were part of the DPW, but they were outside the department. Hence, we are intensifying our efforts in educating our officials. However, where it's external officials, we are advising those departments accordingly. But Chair, if you can allow me, then I will allow Ms. Fute or Mr. Dlamini, no Mr. Duma, to know Dr. Govender to report and provide feedback in terms of the unutilized buildings and the other issues as I've indicated. Thanks, Chair.
Okay, I'm not sure who's responding first.
Thank you.
I can start. It's Mr. Dlamini. Greetings once again to yourself, Chair, and honorable members, MEC, and colleagues. With regards to the issue of EPWP, Chair, it is a worrying factor for us as a department. Remember that EPWP is one of the initiatives that seeks to curb the issue of poverty amongst our communities. Now, with the rising percentage also on unemployment, especially affecting the youth, we find ourselves as a department in a very difficult situation where the EPWP program is always affected by budget cuts. From the 100, it's correct that we have spent 100% of the budget, but Chair, the budget that was allocated, it does not necessarily mean that it would have assisted in achieving the 5,000, just above 5,000 target. What was allocated to us was fully spent, but it could only yield that just above 1,000 work opportunities. Unfortunately, when we requested additional funding from Treasury, we were turned down. However, I must say, as a coordinating department, which is Public Works in this case, it does not look good for us reducing our targets and not being able to meet our target. But I must say, in terms of the expenditure we have fully spent, the only challenge is that when there were budget cuts, we were also affected. Unfortunately, then we couldn't meet our target. We, however, look forward to the engagements that our MEC is having with also National Department of Public Works to see how they can assist in terms of topping up funding for our program. I think, Chair, I can end there for now in terms of our response. Thank you.
Okay, there were others that the CFO had called on to respond.
Thank you, Chair. It's Dr. Govender here. Oh.
Okay, so who's responding? Dr. Govender?
Yes, thank you, Chairperson, and greetings to all honourable members. Chairperson, I firstly welcome the submission of the issues around the disposal, and I would like to respond as follows. Currently, Chair, indeed, the disposals of properties have been a major issue for the Department of Public Works. More so, the focus was mainly around the eThekwini area, and one can see that that actually is a piecemeal approach and it required a holistic approach. So, Chair, the position of Chief Director was absent, was not filled for many years, and fortunately, that position is now occupied by myself. So what we've done in the last 4 months, Chair, is we've approved an asset utilization strategy that talks about how we utilize all our assets for the province.
Is it just me or Dr. Govender, you seem to be cutting off? I can't hear you.
That have been handed over to now.
Dr. Govender, can you just
once it's handed over to us.
Sorry. Dr. Govender, can you just go back a bit because you were cut off, so we missed what you were saying.
Okay, my apology, Honourable Chair. So what I was saying is initially the department faced a challenge whereby the position of Chief Director was vacant and was not filled. And that position has been filled for the last 4 months, and it's occupied by myself. What we've done, Chair, is that we've realized that the piecemeal approach of only focusing on eThekwini won't actually lead to the full utilization of our assets from inception to disposal. So what we've done is we've approved a utilization strategy for our assets disposals. We've also approved a disposal policy and a disposals committee that will sit regularly and attend to all disposals. The issues that we're looking at, Chairperson, is to form partnerships with municipalities like eThekwini. So when we do dispose of our assets, it's in line with all the requirements set out by the local authorities. Now, we've tried previously to go out on bid, and dispose of certain properties within the eThekwini area. We were successful. However, when it came to the payment of the purchase price, that did not materialize. We then went back to the drawing board in the last 6 to 8 weeks following that disaster in Johannesburg. And we realized that we need to look at alternative strategies in terms of repurposing these buildings for student accommodation and focusing on specific target groups that we would like to dispose these buildings to, so that we can contribute to economic upliftment and social development and so on and so forth, like military vets, people with disabilities. So we've incorporated all of that, and we've submitted a cabinet memo for approval for the disposal there too. But more so, Chair, let me highlight that the challenge we face, which we're correcting through our project planning committee meetings that we have on a monthly basis with departments, is that departments do not notify public works in time when an asset is left unattended to or vacated. And what happens is that when public works gets the request that one needs to reprioritize this asset and dispose of it, the building or the property is already as vagrants or illegal people. And if I take this committee through the legal process, Chair, it takes us 3-4 years to get these people evicted. To that extent, the property is dilapidated, there's no services, everything has been removed, and then the whole issue of safety comes into play. So what we've said, now, we've issued a circular to say when properties are about to become vacant or when people are about to move out, those properties must be immediately handed over to Public Works. Once Public Works receipts that, we will then do our conditional assessment, offer it to government departments. When that doesn't work, we will then dispose of it. But more so, we're now working with property development and valuations, whereby we ensuring that security is stationed at these properties. The difficulty we have, Chair, is that we do not have the budget to safeguard all state property. So what we've said is that up until the property is transferred to Public Works, the responsibility thereto then shall vest with the user department. And we're engaging user departments week in, week out, Chair. And I'm not going to labor on leases, but you did highlight previously to the AG as well. Some of the departments, the SLAs that we have with them are clear as to how they need to give us properties, how they need to provide us information, confirmation of budgets for all matters pertaining to immovable asset management. They do not conform with that, Chair, for reasons unknown to myself. And when Public Works does receive an asset or does receive a request, it's 4 weeks, 5 weeks left, and the procurement processes takes us 18 months. Yet there's approved SLAs in place. Everyone knows the SOPs, but there seems to be non-conformance. In terms of the strategy, Chair, and the utilization policy or the disposal policy, that finally is approved. That's guiding our entire process. So what it speaks about, Chair, is to categorize the assets in terms of high priority, medium, low priority, usage, then day off of the asset, versus what the particular area is. So we want to basically prevent selling ice in winter. We want to say to people like NAFSAS, for example, who's shown interest, that listen, we have 3 buildings, high-rise buildings in Durban. These are the square meterage. This is what we're offering it. The buildings that Public Works currently has, Chair, in and around KZN is 7. The difficult part we have, Chair, is the Lundi houses, which spans back to 2 decades, almost 25 years ago, when it was vacated and illegally occupied. I'm not going to get into that, Chair, because there's a cabinet memo as well that we've done on that, that we prepared for that, to highlight the challenges we have with Public Works in order for us to go out.
Dr. Govender, we've lost you again.
There
Okay, Dr. Govender, Dr. Govender, can you just repeat what you said? We lost you again for a minute.
Thank you, Chair. I'm not sure why. Most probably it's a signal here. Chair, I was highlighting the issue of the illegal houses in Ulundi that we're currently dealing with in terms of understanding who are the occupants. And we're busy forming a partnership with Zululand District Municipality so we can manage that. But I think I've covered all the points, Chair. If there's anything I've not, I'm able to respond if there's a follow-up query, and I will respond accordingly. Thank you, Honourable Chair. That's my submission.
Thank you, Dr. Govender. I think there was one other person to respond. I'm not sure who it was.
Thank you, Chairperson. It's Zinhle Fute. Thank you, Chair, again, and honorable members and MEC and colleagues. Chair, I think for me will be just to add on what my colleagues have actually indicated in terms of the issues regarding budget in relation to maintenance, and the department is actually facing challenges with regarding to the maintenance. In the last financial year, we only have about 11.5 million for maintenance, which was allocated, and which then gives a bit of a challenge in terms of us trying to cover as many buildings as well, but also as well that is in relation to only public works and maintenance budget. But when it comes to other client departments, we really depend on them to actually provide us with budget in terms of maintaining those buildings in terms of those client departments. They will then give us the budget and will maintain according to their needs. In terms of Chairperson, the one relating to as well the issue of the targets which have been achieved and the budget fully spent, I think my colleague has covered me. But in terms of the projects themselves relating to infrastructure, we did try to clarify this with AG to say that when AG looked at the budget, they actually looked at the total budget that included the goods and services and not only the infrastructure, not only related to those projects. So the budget that has been indicated includes, it's the entire total budget for public works, including the goods and services and not only the projects. But Chair, also in terms of the client departments paying us on time, I think we do welcome that will actually assist us as public works, because when it relates to infrastructure more especially, we do have a challenge because those projects that are on site will be affected by the non-payment of client department, in turn us then paying those service providers, which then will affect the projects themselves, because in some instances, contractors or service providers will actually stop work on site because they are not being paid, and that affects as well as achieving those projects. Thank you.
I see the hand of Honorable Kaula. 1 second, Honorable Kaula. Let me just check if anyone else from the department wants to speak, and then I'll come back to you.
Thank you, Chair. As the CFO indicated that I will address the Aquipus issue. And I think I agree with the Chairperson, this matter has been coming on even for the previous audit. But what actually happened during the final, and I do agree that is a concern which we also share as a department in line with, and also the concern that we are sharing in line with the Honorable Chairperson is saying. But the process that actually happened was that the AG in the last audit, not the current one that we are reporting on, they declared that as a material irregularity. And then they gave us an opportunity as a department to respond, and gave them some responses in relation to what they actually found. And yes, we made our submission to the AG at that time. What then happens somewhere in August 2023, I think if my mouth does not fail me, Honorable Chair, that's when then the AG came back to say, yes, they are sticking to the material irregularity regarding the payment of licenses. And then they requested the AG, the accounting officer then to do a proper investigation. They even went to the extent of saying, identify individuals that were responsible. That was in August. But then they gave specific and whatever, up to, but the final report that they need is I think is, if not February, I think it's February or January. That is when then the HOD said, this matter is too big. We need expect investigation on the matter. So then we requested, accounting officer requested the Office of the Pfma to investigate. And I think that was reported earlier by the CFO to say, we have had engagement of the Pfma where we gave them documentation and all that. And they promised that in line with the AG's request and time frame that have been given, they will be giving us a report. So actually, Chairperson, considering what we are saying in terms of money spent, we need experts to investigate so that when we attest responsibility, the responsibility is clearly attached. Because the AG is saying it was wrong to pay for a license at that time. Then we're saying let the investigation continue so that it can attach responsibility, and the HOD could be able then to identify and follow up in line with what the AG has guided. So we are hoping that, in fact, they had promised that they would be giving us, when we had the engagement, in a week's time. Maybe through the accounting officer, we need to establish from the OTP, but CFO reported that intermediate report in terms of this investigation is awaiting DG's signature so that it can come back to us, which report then we are going to forward to the AG. So it's a matter that is receiving the chairperson, I can confirm, and we want to make sure that we get this matter closed, and where responsibility can be attached, it have to be attached. And I think you'll recall, Chairperson and honorable members, that this matter dates back to the initial stage when the first service provider was appointed to do Aquibus. But then in the process, that service provider pretended to have finalized the project, which unfortunately did not. Then there was a new service provider that was appointed. So all that is part of the investigation, and we're going to get a report from OTP, which will then justify saying vis-a-vis all the things that has happened. We do appreciate and share the same concern that the Honorable Chair and Honorable members are expressing, and I just want to give confidence to the fact that our accounting officer and management are also as concerned as you are. Because even the current service provider was to finish and go give us live system by July. And unfortunately, they also were unable to do that. But that's another discussion in terms of what we're doing then with the current service provider in line with what they projected in their project plan to finalize. So maybe let me end there, Chairperson, with a note that says we are as concerned as the committee, Honorable Chair, in regard to the Aquibus system. Thank you very much, Chair.
Thank you, Mr. Duma. Let me just, before we move off this matter, because I think this thing has been going on. These 200 software licenses were procured in February 2021, right? And it was at a cost of 5.65 million. The department has only used 15 of the 200 software licenses, but it has been renewing these licenses with an annual subscription fee, right, for the 200. And thus far, right, there's no indication about when the system's going to go live. So regardless of investigation, all of that, the system is not working, right? And this then means that you are not using the department's resources correctly. It's actually fruitless expenditure because you're paying for licenses you're not using, right? And the non-compliance, according to the AG, is probably would have resulted in a material financial loss of 1.71 million as at 31 March 2022. That's the previous financial year, not the current, not the financial year that's under discussion. And it's going to result in further material losses because you are going to continue paying subscription fees on unutilized software licenses. Now, you were given 6 months. The department was given, initially the head of the accounting officer, right, disagreed that this was a material irregularity. This is the report we got from the AG. But the AG's, the committee of the AG's, which is a material irregularity committee, approved the recommendations on the steps that the accounting officer should take and the time period. And the time period is 6 July 2023. We are now in October 2023. So really, I think we are sitting with a very serious problem here, which cannot continue. And this is why, as SCOPA, we want this issue resolved and accountability. The AG has outlined several steps that have to be taken. Apart from investigation, it's got to be disciplinary, recouping of funds, etc. We want feedback on that. So we will obviously be expecting this from the department. I'm glad Honorable MEC is here so that he can get the full picture as well. Now, Honorable Kaula, your hand was up.
Thank you very much, Chairperson, and thanks for the responses. Just comments which have got concerns in them, Chair. I do agree with you. But also on this issue of the accounting officer says they have referred to the relevant departments of the officials who belong to other departments. It sounds very laissez-faire to me. It's a laissez-faire approach to solving problems. That the department does not have an interest as to what happens to those people. Oh, they were not our people. They belong to other departments. We have told them. And then the story ends. It can't work like that. Why is intergovernmental relations? You don't have an interest in knowing somebody who who wronged you. You don't have an interest in knowing what happened to that person. It's wrong, Chairperson. It can't be that approach and that attitude going forward. Because if these things are not attended to properly, they will not stop. The issue of the